Well, actually, I wear a lot of hats these days. If I had to rank a bunch of things, I would say at the core of my being is the fact that I'm a mother with 4 kids. So that's at the absolute root, that's who I am. Then I'm a lawyer here in Sheboygan County in the District Attorney's Office, and that is a wonderful job, but that's what I do. I'm also a writer with a few books under my belt, and I decided after starting in journalism many years ago, a writer is also really a part of who I am. For me, photography is both a new and an old passion. I first got hooked into it when I was in journalism college, which way preceded the law school degree. This was the first thing that I did back in my early 20s, and I took a photography class as part of J School, and we were sent out onto the campus to tell stories with our single lens reflex cameras and black and white film. And it was just a wonderful discipline to learn, and it taught me to never look through the viewfinder carelessly anymore. So I brought that to bear on, family photographs, vacation photographs, and I've always liked it, but you have to think back 20 years ago, all you're doing is you're taking your rolls of film to Walgreens or someplace and you're getting them developed, and then if you want to change them, you have to drive back to the store and say, oh, would you crop it, or would you do this, or would you do that? So it wasn't anything I took seriously, and then finally a few years ago, I was invited by my son to go visit him while he was in Germany. And he was still in high school. He was a foreign exchange student. And I thought, everybody in this family has a digital camera except for me. So, and I had a $50 gift certificate burning a hole in my pocket to Best Buy. And so I went and I got my first digital camera, read the instructions on the plane going over there, fell in love with the fact that not only could I see what I was doing fairly quickly once I figured out how to replay the pictures, but I could also edit them on my camera, or not on my camera, but on my computer, which took all of that running back and forth to Walgreens or Walmart or any place that you were getting it developed, and just put the joy of playing with color, playing with size, playing with cropping. So yeah, I've been running with that for several years now. I still don't think of myself mostly in terms of a photographer, other than I take some good pictures and I take some bad pictures. But I have gotten some signature images, and what I'm captivated by is the fact that you can just freeze an instant. And that's really what I enjoy the most, is I freeze an instant, something going past, floating down the Mississippi, taking pictures of butterflies on flowers in my garden. I'm very conscious of the fleeting nature of life and beauty and all sorts of things. In a serious accident about 15 years ago, and it just left me very sensitized to the fact that things can change in an instant. And so that's what I try to capture with my pictures, is that instant that you want to replay over and over. Well, let me tell you a little bit first about what is actually my signature image, which is the stiletto heels on the beach. It kind of looks like you're almost in the tropics, but that picture was taken on the day before New Year's Eve a few years ago at Harrington Beach State Park in Ozaukee County. And I was finally following the urging of some friends to start writing a blog, and it was going to be called Running with Stilettos. And I had formed this idea that I wanted a picture of my shoes on the beach. And I had despaired on the day that I was going to start this that the sun was even going to come out. But suddenly the sun came through the clouds. I threw several pairs of my favorite shoes into a bag, drove to the beach, set them down in the sand. I'm belly down on this wet sand. Luckily there was no snow around me. But by the time I was done, I was frozen. And I got up, I thought, okay, I probably have enough. And then I turned. And as I turned, with everything packed up to go back, I realized the sunlight hit the water from a different angle, and the shadows hit the sand from a different angle. And I thought, oh, what the heck, I'm here already. I'm cold, I'm wet, I'm covered with sand. I might as well do one more shot or two. So I took my favorite shoes out of the bag, and I set them down, and I snapped exactly 2 pictures and drove home, uploaded them to my computer, and went, oh, well, this is what we're using. And it's a picture that inspires or makes people think in different ways. For me, it just was a cute picture to start off the website. It's become my signature image on my business cards. It was the cover of my first book. It's on the promotional cards that I give away. But looking at it makes people feel relaxed. I did have one comment from a very elderly gentleman who was a writer down in Georgia where I was at conference, and he he said during a cocktail party later that he looked at that picture of the shoes and he wondered what I had done with the dress that I had taken off at the same time. I thought, well, my mind had never gone there, but apparently his had. So once again, it was just the power of just following your instinct and say, maybe I'm going to try one more thing, and that thing was what turned out really well. Then the other picture here, the black and white one behind me, is of a waterfall whose name I've totally forgotten in Yosemite. I had taken my youngest son out there before college for a week-long mom and me kind of a trip, and he was braver than I was, and so I was sitting on a rock someplace at the base of this waterfall watching the world go by as he was up clambering farther into canyons and rocks and things like that. And I took out my camera and I thought, oh, that's kind of pretty the way that waterfall comes down. So I snapped a bunch of pictures. And it's a nice color picture. I mean, it's got blue sky, it's got green trees, it's got brownish gray rocks, and it's got water. And I just thought, I'm going to play with this a little bit, and I hit the black and white button on my computer, and I suddenly went, oh, that's it. That was it for me. And so when I looked at it in black and white, it just looked like the sky was pouring down the mountainside. And so that's why we have that one here. And once again, it's nothing that I set out to capture pictures of waterfalls. I didn't set out on a photography exhibition or expedition to do one thing or another. I never do, other than setting out to take pictures of my shoes that day. But it happened, and I was there, and the light was great, and the water was great, and it just, that instant grabbed me, and here we are. And I've got the sky pouring down the mountainside behind me. I actually have written 3 books, which all stem from the blog. I started the blog because I didn't have time to write the novel that I set out to do. I just had too many things interrupting me, but friends here in Sheboygan nudged me into setting up the blog and helping me with set it up and get. One of my questions was, okay, how do I get the picture out of my computer into the blog? We're really talking basics here. So anyway, we titled it Running with Stilettos, and after I'd collected a bunch of essays, I put them in book form. And the first one was Running with Stilettos, which took off and won some awards. And then the second one I called Heck on Heels, which has another pair of one of my shoes on the cover. And the third one recently is Fabulous in Flats. And so all of those are available on my website, runningwithstilettos.com. But they're also locally available at the Victorian Chocolate Shop on South 8th Street and at Curative Therapies on, I believe it's Erie and 6th. And they're all compilations of essays that I've done on the internet, both for my website and for places like more.com and growingbolder.com. And I think it was for Chicago Writes also. But yeah, anyway, those 3 essay collections are available locally at those 2 places, and if they don't have copies, I'm sure they'll call me and they'll ask me for some more. If anybody's interested in my photographs, there's an email link on my website to contact me. And I am just absolutely thrilled to death to be taking part of this. Being a writer, being a photographer, being an artist of any sort is kind of a lonely endeavor, and I've been blessed to have wonderful connections in the writing community down in Chicago and some in Wisconsin, and more recently just in Florida, as a matter of fact. But in terms of the art scene, I was nudged into this by a painter that I know, Diana Allen, who works as a bailiff in our courthouse and also paints, and she got after me to join this, and I live kind of far away, but it's very nice to be able to come and hang out with other people who are interested in art.